So the other position they say is wide receiver. So Cleveland has a lot of bodies at wide receiver heading into training camp, but it will need to sort them out. And if none of them prove to be great secondary targets, then it could be easier for opposing defenses to key on Amari Cooper this season. I kind of disagree with that one.
I do too, Dave. I was going to say I like their depth there, and they've got what I think is going to be interesting is that they're going to have some tough decisions in terms of like Anthony Schwartz and David Bell, right? I mean, you've got a couple of young guys that they've invested in for the future, but now that you've gone outside, in free agency and trade and brought in Moore and Goodwin, you got some riches there that you didn't have last year. I mean, that was the position that we all looked at and said, "Oh my God, what are they going to do? How they got to get some help for Watson. They got to get some help for Brissett. Whoever's behind center. They just didn't have, the kind of targets that a quality team has." And so, in terms of another guy, I think this is a big year for Donovan Peoples-Jones. I really do. I don't know if his ceiling is much higher than what we saw last year, and I think it's up to him to show everyone that he can be a 60 reception, 70 reception guy. But the other problem you're going to have is there's only one football, and Deshaun's going to have to spread it around to a lot of guys. In terms of that position though, and what the speed of both Moore and Goodwin can bring to this team is really eye-opening when you see it in practice. And we always talk about that vertical threat, the guy that can take the top off of a defense. And when you see the Browns, even going through 7-on-7 or in the 11-on-11 stuff when they're working in, whether it be 2-minute or, whatever the case may be, but having that burner on the outside that can just stretch teams is imperative. And that opens up, it's one thing to have that guy go deep, but then that opens up all those windows closer to the line of scrimmage where your tight ends can run, where your running back can come out and find some space. So, I like their wide receiver position. It's not it wasn't a spot that I was actually circling last year, but I think they did a really nice job of fixing it up.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there is the ability to exploit matchups there. You have enough different skill sets that on any given week, they're going to look for, if we see this guy on this guy, go to him. And that's something they didn't have last year.
I totally agree, Dave. It's all about matchups. And you know what? What the Browns really lacked, in my mind, was kind of that twitchy guy, right? That guy you could put in the slot and have your quarterback take a one-step drop and just get him the ball and hope he can break a tackle. And, you hope that a 2-yard pass turns into a 12-yard gain, and they just didn't have that. But in Moore and Goodwin, they have two guys that can do that. And I don't think they're ready to give up on Anthony Schwartz either. I think here's a kid that I think had some major, mental obstacles to overcome in terms of, dropping passes, and his confidence really waned. And I don't think they're ready to give up on him quite yet. And so, I think those early days of camp are going to be really important for him. And as I mentioned before, I think for David Bell as well, this is a guy that he doesn't stand out when you watch them practice in terms of, his running ability or the way he runs routes. He's not, Amari Cooper is on another planet in terms of those kinds of things. But David Bell catches the ball. And he finds a way to get open. And as long as he can stay healthy, I still think there might be a roster spot for him.